Welcome to Wellness Wednesday. When L-carnitine is mentioned, supplements may be the first thing that comes to mind. But there's another side to the story that begins much closer to home, the food on our plates. L-carnitine occurs naturally in several foods, and the amount we consume can vary considerably depending on our dietary pattern. So today, rather than asking what L-carnitine does, we're asking a different question. Where do we actually find it in food? Let's begin with the richest dietary sources. Animal-derived foods generally contain considerably more carnitine than plant foods, and red meat is particularly notable. Beef and lamb are among the richer dietary sources, but that doesn't mean the practical lesson is simply to eat more red meat. Nutrition is always about the bigger picture. Lean beef, for example, can form part of a balanced meal alongside plenty of vegetables and an appropriate whole food carbohydrate source. That meal isn't providing carnitine alone. Beef can also contribute high-quality protein, iron, zinc, and vitamin B12. That's an important principle to remember. Whole foods rarely provide just one nutrient. Now let's move from the land to the sea. Fish can also contribute dietary carnitine, although generally in smaller amounts than red meat. A piece of fish served with vegetables and potatoes, brown rice, or another whole grain option demonstrates how a carnitine-containing food can fit naturally within an everyday balanced meal. And once again, we're getting much more than one compound. Fish provides high-quality protein, and oily fish can also contribute omega-3 fatty acids. Poultry is another source. Chicken and turkey generally contain less carnitine than red meat, but they can still contribute to dietary intake. Think of grilled chicken in a colorful salad, a whole grain wrap, or alongside vegetables at dinner. Dairy products can contribute too. Milk, yogurt, and cheese contain varying amounts of carnitine and can fit within someone's diet according to their individual preferences, nutritional needs, and tolerances. At this point, however, there's an important part of the story we shouldn't miss. Not all of the carnitine in the human body has to arrive through food. Our bodies can also synthesize carnitine. This process uses the essential amino acids lysine and methionine, along with other required nutrients. That matters because dietary carnitine intake can vary considerably between people. Someone eating an omnivorous diet containing red meat may consume substantially more dietary carnitine than someone following a vegetarian or vegan diet. But lower dietary intake does not automatically mean that someone is carnitine deficient. The body's own production is also part of normal carnitine physiology. This is especially important when discussing plant-based diets. Plant foods generally contain very little carnitine compared with animal-derived foods. But that fact should not be turned into the message that everyone needs to eat meat specifically to obtain adequate carnitine. Different dietary patterns can support health when they are appropriately planned. And this brings us to perhaps the most useful nutrition lesson from today's discussion. Try not to judge a food only by one compound. If we look at salmon only as a source of carnitine, we miss its protein and omega-3 fats. If we look at beef only as a source of carnitine, we overlook its protein, iron, zinc, and vitamin B12. If we look at yogurt only through the lens of carnitine, we miss its protein, calcium, and other nutrients. Nutrition works as a system. Foods bring combinations of nutrients to the plate, and our overall dietary pattern determines how those foods fit together. So where does supplementation fit? Understanding natural food sources doesn't make supplementation irrelevant. Nor does the existence of supplements reduce the importance of nutritious food. They answer different questions. Whole foods provide an important nutritional foundation. Supplementation may have an appropriate place depending on someone's diet, health circumstances, goals, and professional guidance. The purpose of learning about food sources isn't to decide that one approach is good and the other is bad. It's to understand the complete picture. L-carnitine is a good example of that principle. Some comes from the foods we eat. Our bodies can also produce it. Different dietary patterns provide different amounts. And supplementation exists as another potential tool within an individual's wider nutritional context. So the next time you hear L-carnitine mentioned, don't think only about the supplement bottle. Think about the steak, the fish, the chicken, the yogurt, and the remarkable ability of the human body to synthesize carnitine itself. Understand the science, understand the food, understand your individual context. Then make an informed decision